This is Dabu7 with an interesting situation here out of California, LA to be exact. And I want to start off by stating that the outcome of this situation doesn't take away from my beliefs of what Mr. Makveli has done. I believe to the T by the book, he has implemented the whole Makveli phase. And if you know the whole roots of the original Makveli that faked his death, he did so to evade his enemies, to also eliminate them. And Pac, interestingly enough, is an individual that was about to go back to jail, swore he never would, and I feel they had everything to do with shooting him the first time. I think he knew this as well. This is why he was wearing the medallion with the angel on it right there toward the end. And I can't help but point out that in almost every single song that was put out, there was some kind of hint. Especially with the Outlaws. When they put their music out, there was always hints. Even with Bone, where they echoed, "He's alive, he's alive." Idi Amin in this shot right here. In this video, this is just a few years ago. There was a man standing in the background in the shadows. You could not see his face, but when you enhanced the image, guess what? Guess who this looks to be standing there in the shadows? What's also interesting is when you go to the people that were close to Pac, he had no funeral, and you ask them, say like Tretch, you can look it up. They don't say Pac's dead, rest in peace. They freeze up. And like Tretch, he says, "I'm loyal. So, I ain't going to say anything. He wanted to say, I ain't saying, They clam up. They're not saying, "Are you kidding me? Rest in peace." They're not saying, "How dare you disgrace Pac? How dare you?" Just not a one of them. Not a one of them. Not his mother before she passed away. None of them. Big Psych, ask him. He laughs. We don't die, we multiply. Makveli lives on. You see, they constantly echoed this through his music, and I'm someone that dissected Pac's music to a T. Been dying to reach out and get an interview with one of these outlaws. And some of these people out here state some things are just left better unsaid. Because if an individual was to come back, what do you think they would face? The same thing, death or prison. The same thing that I believe caused this whole thing to be implemented. Now, can they assassinate someone after they do it? Yes. But I have a feeling that you would see this come out in the community in some form or fashion if he was to have been eliminated after attempting this. Now, this is just one of the recent videos Outlaws put out, and I have a video that I put out over on Dabu777 that goes into detail. It's got like 4 million views on it. Went into as much detail as I could to point out, even in this, I wonder if heaven's got a ghetto. Who is that? That is Pac, laying in the bed, guaranteed. And this whole thing depicts him landing in a helicopter in Mexico, shot up and bloody, in Rookers, New Mexico, which was Shakur backwards. And the whole thing depicts him escaping, making it away. It was all laid out right there. The whole name, the alias, the whole nine was depicted and centered around this. And there's even a clip of a blonde-headed woman that was in the streets of Vegas. You can look this up too. And she's caught saying a helicopter picked him up. Not the ambulance like they were trying to say. She saw a helicopter come down and pick him up right there in the streets. The whole thing is riddled with mystery. Of course, Frank Alexander's now deceased. Gaddafi mysteriously disappearing right after Pac, which he also states, "Smoke a blunt for me too was staring through your rear view." See, I listened to all these hints that they left. He's still breathing. They specifically say these things. And Makveli lives on. Keep your head up. Yeah. And Makveli lives on. They planted these things all throughout the music. You see, so there was more to it. There was a master plan here. And as Pac said, everything was plotted. So that gives some background into what I think about Pac. The whole plan of being implemented. Where's another clip here just to show you? And you guys can go and check out this video. This is the Cuba clip where he's with the Cuban rapper in the back seat. Right there, just a small clip. Very quick, just like in I Wonder If Heaven's Got a Ghetto, where he's in the bed. Just a really quick clip. But it shows the man's there. Can they kill someone afterwards? Can someone get caught? Of course. But to me, Pac had this plan. I'm not sure if he's still alive or breathing at this point. I think only the outlaws can answer that. Some of the people close to him. Of course, his mother's passed away. Rest in peace. Big Psych has passed away. Frank Alexander, gone. Fatal, gone. All these individuals. And there were some unique things that Fatal left connected to Makveli right before he died recently that raises some eyebrows. So it brings me to this current story. And I had to give you the background there real quick on Pac and some of the stuff I've put out there because it's important. Because Pac woke me up, believe it or not, when he dropped Makveli and it said Don Killuminati. I asked myself, what does that mean? And when I started digging, the journey began. When I figured out that it meant he was the Don to kill the Illuminati and started going down this rabbit hole, I seen what he was saying. He awakened me. Believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds. So I pay respect there. Well, I don't care if you don't like rap, if you didn't like him, period. He woke me up and made me say, all right, who is this Illuminati? And obviously they're running things behind the scenes. And then it all began. The quest to figure out the truth. And see, it brings me to this story out of LA, where Pac runs, where, shout out to Shep. He sent this my way. A couple other cats have done videos on this. A man arrested. TMZ reporting a man arrested in LA under the name of Tupac Amaru Shakur. Now, this is where the story starts to take a twist. And I'm still open for information. And if anyone on the ground out there doing recon can get an interview with this man, or one of these two men, because this is where it takes a weird twist. It's one thing for them to say a man was faking using the fake name of Donald Duck, okay? If they take you into jail and you're saying your name is Donald Duck, okay, and they run your fingerprints and they find out who you are, when the evening news comes around, they may make mention that you had tried to use the name Donald Duck. They're not going to plug it into the system and give Donald Duck a case number, a court date, separate from the true person that just got arrested. That's exactly what we have here. Where it looks like, from what I'm seeing here, the reports show that this man was arrested under this booking number, felony charge, taken into custody, and that he has a court date different than the Tupac that's listed here. This is where it gets interesting, because they're saying this Clarence Campbell tried to use Tupac's alias many times. But now we have two different court dates. Two different court dates for two different people. Under the sheriff's office here is showing this listed all together under another number. So my thing is this. Snoop Dogg got arrested, went to jail. When he went into the system, it was Calvin Brodus. You see, it was his real name. If this man gets put into the system, the way I see it, correct me if I'm wrong, they may put your aliases in another little box as information, but they're not going to give your alias, this ghost, this phony, this fake, a court date to go before a judge with a complete different number. Do you see? That's the one thing that's wrong here with this, with me. So if we can get some more information on that, that would be nice. I guess my biggest question here is, why do we have two different booking numbers, two different court dates? And when you get down to the roots of this guy's information, he's not the same weight, size, or birth date of Tupac. Yet here at the other booking, they have all of Tupac's information in there to a T. His birth date, everything. His height, the whole nine. The name, and it's under a different booking number with a different court date. So that's what's interesting here. If we can get some more information there, maybe we can help clear this up. Some are saying it just doesn't seem to make sense. And like I said, if we can get some more information, we'll update on this, clear the air on this. But I guess the one thing that stands out to me is even though they say it's this Clarence Campbell, why is there clearly a different person with a different booking number altogether listed with a different court date? I don't know. Maybe one of you guys out there know. Once again, even if this shows to just be some kind of error, whatnot, and that it's not Pac, doesn't take away from the fact of every other little crumb that he left hinting toward this going down. Suge shot me right there at the beginning of the album. The whole thing set up and staged. On to I Wonder If Heaven's Got a Ghetto video. All the other stuff. All of them. You know, and did you know that the story that was told where they were supposedly smoked Pac's ashes and everything else, did you know that it was later admitted that even from the Outlaws, one of the Outlaws stated that it wasn't? They flat out said it. They were like, we thought, you know, they tried to put it on as, you know, at the time we thought so, but it wasn't. It wasn't. They admitted that. Of course, this is a crew that is always saying Makveli lives on anyway. So what are they doing? Just trying to say the spirit lives on? Well, people flat out asked them this. Like I said, they've sat the camera down next to people like Tretch and even asked him live on camera. Even Suge, all these other ones, there's never no, even Mo Preem, all of them. There's never no flat out, he's dead. Why don't you stop with it? It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. How dare? None of them have ever said that. None of them. Also, if you did not know, while we're on the Pac subject, and rest in peace, Tupac, long live Makveli, because you have to understand he dropped that form, in my opinion, going into this mode, giving up a whole life, but it's the only way to survive, in his opinion. Those tactics, and if he never pulled this off, damn it, he left the blueprint. As he said, he was going to spark the seed, change the world. Didn't say he'd necessarily do it himself, but he wanted to spark that seed that was listening. So, in the name of Pac, it's been announced he has a son. And they made this announcement in Atlanta quietly here not too long ago. He has a son. They even have clips of it before the whole thing in 1996 went down with him holding on top of a car as a baby boy. And he raps. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And they said that the song To My Unborn Child was basically written about him before he was going to be incarcerated the first time, when he knew that he was going to have him. And everything else connected there. And you have to go, if you go and listen to those songs, man, it's Pac left the hints. Whether he was successful or not is a different story when it comes to Tupac and the mystery of Makveli. Was he successful? Now you have a big movie about to come out, All Eyes on Me, where there's been a lot of drama about how it's been done and how it's been depicted. And they're going to drop it on his birthday this year. John Singleton was supposed to have been saying some things, and then other people got involved, and there's been a lot of beef back and forth. And the new one is supposed to depict him as, the rapper, and others were wanting to depict him as more than that, because he wasn't just a rapper, and that's the truth. He was an enigmatic figure. He was an actor. He was electric anywhere he went. And he was powerful. He was trying to get gangs to drop their flags and come together and unify. He was doing the last thing the CIA and the Alphabet gangs wanted him to do. And they seen this man as being a seed from the Panther line, as being a threat, straight up. And I believe it's what got him shot the first time. And people can argue that because everyone's been filled with all this stuff. But it's even been said that they had snitches sent up into the jail cells right after everything, implanting seeds into his head that it was a West Coast, East Coast type of thing, that the Puffy Biggie crew had something to do with it, and implanting those seeds. But he later figured out that it was feds. This is where the whole talk of Rampart scandal and everything else comes into play, in everything going on behind the scenes of this whole game. You see, because Pac was obviously doing something they did not want. He was connecting with the people. He was talking about the streets, the struggles, that Brenda's got a baby. He was relating to them. It was powerful. They did not like that. You see, that's the truth of it. And they wanted to silence him, and they would want to do the same if he was to ever come back. So why ever come back? You'd be walking into a death trap or a jail cell, in my opinion. Unless there's like all-out revolution and this place is crumbling and somebody rises to the occasion, comes out the shadows as a leader to do things. But that's timing. Do you come back? What if it's you? It's interesting. Regardless, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting when it comes to Mr. Makveli. DJ King Assassin. I have had the chance to actually be able to, have contact with him and share stuff. And DJ worked with Pac on some legendary stuff. And DJ King Assassin has a movie coming out. And the way they're timing this, I guess they know that the big All Eyes on Me is going to be dropping. But they've got one that they're dropping called Makveli. And what's interesting is it's not with all these other big time guys in the industry. It was his own personal project that he put together with a couple buddies, including Mo Preem, which is Pac's only closest brother he had. Half-blood. Half-blood. So he had the same blood in him. So it's interesting to see what those guys are going to put out, how they're going to portray it. You have to listen to the little hints. And damn it, if you listen to Suge Knight, all the man says, there's so many clips. He said he paid the guy $3 million to disappear into the sunset, cremate Pac, and never be seen again. And then he even says it. He says, well, I ain't no snitch. But I tell you this, Pac was not going to go back to jail. And Pac would fake his death before he goes back to jail. And Pac was facing going back to jail. It is smiling the whole time. Everything from Death Row, the whole catalog and all those records, all that was lost. Other people, it was picked up by some Canadians and others and all this other stuff. Aside from what, like, say, Coke and different industries have rights on certain stuff, depending on the timeline and who Pac was with at that point. Because he was working with different labels and there's stuff pushed out under Interscope, everything else out there. And Pac wanted his own label. And there was talk of that. He gave the Death Row chain back to Suge right at the end and was wearing the angel. But there's no way Pac pulled this off without Suge not knowing. And in my opinion, if Pac was ever killed that night, Suge Knight knows it. Suge Knight did it. Suge Knight was behind it. And it was influenced by CIA and everything else because they control everything else, pulling the strings. In the end, if Pac's dead, it was just CIA. In my opinion. Want your alphabet gangs. They've seen him as a threat. If he's truly dead. If not, then they want him dead for that exact same reason. Everything we've talked about here. So, is Tupac alive? Well, in terms of this case in California, like I said with the arrest, we're going to keep digging. You guys got any information? If we can find the guy, Clarence Campbell, coming out and get an interview with him, just to see what's happening. Hear what he has to say about a court case, number, booking numbers, anything, to see how it relates to this other case. If he's got to come back to court, or why ask him, why do they have a whole nother booking under a Tupac now? If they clearly knew that it was you. See what he says. If he's not set to return and someone else is, then we've got a big issue. But see, that takes some digging, some people on the ground. And a shout outs to everyone out there that fights the fight. Like I said, I started this whole journey literally when I held the album cover in my hands and I asked myself, what is Don Killuminati? And Pac put it there. It was like unlocking something in my mind in starting this journey, going after this dark hand. So if there's anything Tupac ever did for me, he awakened me. It wasn't just being a rapper or an actor or anything like that. It was the awakening to this game and the corruption in it. And it runs deep. And that's the truth. And this is why we say Killuminati. It's why I say Killuminati. To do away with the deception. To do away with these cartels, these mafias that are in through the ranks of the governments across the world under Zionist and Jesuit control. As they run both sides of every war, like they did World War I. The Rothschilds split up. One went to France, one went to Germany. They funded both sides of the war, just like they created the boogeyman today. Only hip to it through the awakening. So stay woke. If you're not woke, get woke, awaken. I'll leave links and make sure to check out this full video and subscribe to both my channels because they're doing a fine job of censoring as well. So that's some of the latest. If I have any new information on Mr. Makveli, I will update later. This has been Dabu7. Once again, this is Killuminati.